far we've done the fuck racism prompt, whereby I spoke about my 20 recommended reads that talk about, you know, race relations. We've done the fuck patriarchy prompt, where I basically shared my 20 reads that had people standing up and, you know, going against the patriarchy. And then the last video was the fuck ageism prompt, where we celebrated like older characters being the main characters in books. And yeah, it's finally the prompt. It's one of two prompts that my absolute favorite in this entire readathon, and that is the fuck heteronormativity prompt, because now we're all about queer books. And I don't know if I've said it recently, but queer books make me feel a certain kind of way. What can I say? It's just how they make me feel. That's just the way you make me feel. That's just the way you make me feel. So good, so fucking real. That's just the way you make me feel. That's just the way you make me feel.
That's just the way you make me feel. That's the way you make me feel. That's just the way you make me feel.
Hello everybody, Nora back again. Honestly, if you thought I was going to do a fuck heteronormativity prompt and not find a way to walk in Janelle Monáe's The Way You Make Me Feel inside of it, like, have you met me? Do you know me? Do you know I have the big ass crush on Janelle Monáe? Like, seriously? Damn. So we'll kick things off with Once Ghosted, Twice Shy by Alyssa Cole, which if you watched my FuckAthon announcement video, you know that was my pick for the fuck heteronormativity prompt. But see, Once Ghosted, Twice Shy is a novella in the Reluctant Royal series. And I say this because if you spent any amount of time on my channel, you know that there are certain series I take my time with reading, and then there are certain series I binge read. Like, case in point, both Sarah J. Maas's series, I binge read both of them. So Reluctant Royal series, I binge read it as well. Like, I started and I could not stop until I finished the entire series, which meant that I have already read Once Ghosted, Twice Shy. It was fantastic, by the way. In fact, the entire Reluctant Royal series was fucking amazing. But we're not here to talk about, you know, all of that. I would keep that for my wrap up at the end of the month. But basically, Once Ghosted, Twice Shy is this sweet, hot, sexy, funny, gorgeous novella that basically tells the story of Lakotsi and Fabiola. Now, these two characters had met in the first book in the series, although we did not like get a first-hand account of their relationship. They had met in the first book in the series through a dating app, and then they had this intense relationship, but Fabiola broke up with Lakotsi, and Lakotsi has been nursing a broken heart ever since. So we start things off in Once Ghosted, Twice Shy with Lakotsi, you know, deciding for herself that she's going to move forward. She's going to, you know, start thinking she's going to try and forget the sweet, gorgeous, hot, sexy jewelry maker she had met in the previous year when she was in New York. And when she made up her mind that, okay, do you know what, this is a new year, Lakotsi, we're going to move forward, we're going to not look back, we're not going to think about Fabiola, who walks into a train car but Fabiola herself. And Fabiola is ready to, you know, pick up things where they left off. She too has been regretting that she had ghosted Lakotsi, and through that afternoon of working together, they reconnect and they rebond, and it's told in like alternating chapters. So we see like the start of their relationship like a year ago, and then, you know, we come back to present day, and finding out why Fabiola ghosted Lakotsi was just so sweet. And now here is it. See, a lot of the times when you read female on female romance stories, they go a certain way, especially if you read a lot of YA. They're always so nice and sweet and chaste. And I've even read some adult books whereby it's still all nice and sweet and chaste, and I'm over here like, what happened to the fire? What happened to the like, why am I not getting smexy, hot, sexy time? So I'm always complaining about that. I am proud to say that Alyssa Cole more than delivered. Like, she fucking delivered on that shit. So the second book is Tell Me How You Really Feel by Aminame Safi. Now, this is yet another sapphic romance, although this is in the YA genre, and you know, it ticks a lot of boxes for me. So what can I say? I love enemies to lovers stories. Like, those are my jam. Having characters, you know, try to work on a film, or maybe they are filming, like, I love that shit. I eat that shit up. Like, also my jam. And then there's also the fact that the book is marketed as Gilmore Girls, but if Rory Gilmore ended up with Paris Geller. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned it on my channel, I don't think I have, but Gilmore Girls is my jam. Like, growing up, when I was in secondary school, me and my mom watched it every year religiously. When I went to uni, every time I came home for like the breaks, we watched it all over again. I love that TV show, and I shipped Rory and Paris so hard. Like, they were my OTP, my number one ship. Second ship was Rory and Jess. Yes, I shipped her with Jess. Sue me, bite me, I don't care. But anyway, I shipped Rory and Paris so much. So to realize that there's a YA book that basically has that same old format, you know, a highly competitive school, they used to be rivals, they can't stand each other, and then they have that old slow burn, and then, you know, build things up. But unlike where Paris and Rory stopped things at, you know, friendship, except for that one kiss when Paris was being Paris, the fact that they went further with the relationship makes me so fucking happy. So what is this book about? It's basically about Rachel, you know, who is in the process of making a senior film project, and she's currently trying to cast for leads, and she's found the perfect lead, actually. Cheerleader, overconfident, straight-A student Sana. Except for the fact that Rachel cannot stand Sana. Ever since Sana asked her out, when, like, I think in the start of junior year, and Rachel was convinced that it was all a prank and has hated Sana ever since. The only thing about it is that Sana actually really does like Rachel, you know, so it was not a prank. And it's just this whole thing of they are working together, they are making a film based off of the Odyssey. Once again, you all know how much I love mythology, especially Greek mythology, so this makes it like really, really high up my list. So yeah, they're working together on Odyssey, and you know, they slowly become friends, you know, from enemies to friends to lovers, and it just sounds perfect, and I cannot wait to read it. And speaking of Greek mythology, the third book on my list is A Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Now, pre-teenage me, when she first discovered Homer's Iliad, I read it and I cried. I bawled my eyes out. Like, that was so fucking sad. And I know adult me will read this book and cry even more. So what is the Song of Achilles about? It's basically the story of Achilles and Patroclus, a celebration of their friendship and eventual love, a chastisement of their weaknesses and, you know, the rash, terrible decisions that they took, and also a mourning of their loss, and everything is set against the backdrop of the Trojan War. And it's just, it's heartbreaking, it's sad. I can't wait to read it. But I'm going to have to wait a bit because I want to finish Circe first before I read Song of Achilles. The fourth book is If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. It's the story of Amanda, who transfers to a new school after a bullying incident lands her in the hospital. Now she's in the new school. She's trying to keep her head down, trying not to associate with anybody and just get through, you know, the school year. But she meets Grant, another student, and they connect and bond, and eventually Amanda starts to fall for him. But as she does so, she gets very, very terrified, because you see, Amanda is a trans girl, and she's worried that the way Grant would look at her and see her will change if he finds out the truth. And also, she's also worried about what the repercussions would be if the rest of the school finds out as well, or if she would once again have a repeat of what she was going through in our old school. Now, a lot of the times when we talk about LGBTQ plus books, we focus a lot on the L and the G, and then all the other acronyms that come after that just start, you know, slowly losing relevance as they go further down the line. So being able to read a book that is told from the perspective of a trans girl just like makes me so happy. Even better, this is an own voices novel, because author Meredith Russo is a trans woman, and she has stated in interviews that part of the story was inspired by her own life experiences. Now, I would like to state that there is trigger warning for assault, both physical and sexual, in the book. A lot of the times when we're talking LGBTQ plus stories, the focus is usually mostly the West, and usually when things like that happen, I'm always curious about, you know, being able to read stories that basically center experiences that, you know, are familiar to me, that, you know, are rooted in what I know, the world I know around me. Enter Chinelo Okparanta with Under the Udala Trees, which is a sapphic love story that takes place, not only just it's a sapphic love story and also a coming of age of a queer woman in Nigeria, of a gay woman in Nigeria. And basically this tells the story of Ijoma, who lost her father during the Nigerian Civil War. And that's another thing. This book does subtly talk about, you know, depression and how it affects, you know, people living in war-torn areas. So after Ijoma loses her father, she's raised by a mother who is very religious and very strict, and through the pages of the book, we see Ijoma grow, coming into her own. She falls in love with another student, another girl in the boarding school she's sent to, although that is not even the central love story in this book. I don't want to spoil it for you, but there is a central love story as Ijoma grows and becomes older. And I just love the fact that the way the book, depicts and shows what it means to live in a homophobic society like Nigeria, where basically religion and culture are used as chains to weigh queer folks down and keep us bound to follow some straight path that family and friends and relatives try to fix or try to ensure that we take, all means necessary. So it's heartbreaking, it's a bit joyful, and there's a part in this book where Ijoma challenges our mother's religious beliefs that it just warms my heart. It's just that unbelievably good. But yes, if you want a book that talks about basically your sapphic love story but between two Nigerian girls, one of whom grew up during like a terrifying time in Nigerian history, which was during, of course, the Civil War, you should totally check this out. Just saying. Speaking of books that take place in other parts of the world and basically like give us queer experiences of other people in other parts of the world, it's one of my favorite books of all time. I have loved this book since I picked it up 2 years ago, and I read it religiously every year, and it keeps blowing my mind. Every single time I reread it, I fall in love just a little bit more, and that is Fairytales for Lost Children by Juliet. I know I've mentioned this book like twice now on my channel, but the amount of love I feel for it, and the fact that it is such an underrated book and not so many people know about it, especially on BookTube, always breaks my heart, because this is a collection of short stories that detail the queer immigrant Somali experience using, rhythmic language, visual and vivid storytelling, illustrations, Arabic writings, a raw, powerful, just has your breath catching in your throat as we deal with like different issues, from, of course, what it means to be queer and Somali, what it means to be queer, Somali, and an immigrant, and also, abuse, depression, suicidal ideation, mental health, staying in mental health facilities. Like this short story collection, each of the stories in this are so short, but the characters are such full-fledged, nuanced characters that I love this book. Juliet is one of my favorite. Through this book has instantly shot up to being one of my favorite authors of all time, and I would always shout his praise from the rooftop and always encourage everybody who can possibly do so to read this, because this is so fucking brilliant and amazing. And then there's She Called Me Woman, which was edited by Zina Muhammad, Chitra Nagarajan, and Safiyat Aliyu. I'm going to start this by stating outright that some of the views held by a lot of the women in this book are, problematic, very highly problematic. But that's just the thing. It's what contributes to making it so real, because these are actual people. This is a collection of interviews of queer women spread all over Nigeria, like from the north to the south to the east to the west to the mid belt, all over Nigeria. And to understand the impact, to understand what this is, I like to state that Nigeria is a very homophobic country. Very, very homophobic. I'm not even going to go into any of the laws. You can Google that and all of that and check it out, but it's very homophobic. So this effort in itself is so brave. These women coming out to state their stories are so brave. This is a compilation of 30 stories, and they even did admit that a lot more women actually initially expressed interest in doing so, and then had to pull away when they were because they were terrified of their family, their husbands, possibly finding out. So like I said, it is core, it's essential, it's representative of queer women in Nigeria that a lot of people do not see and whose voices have not been heard, because we're a very silent group within the country, and it's mind-blowing because the very first story in this, the titular She Called Me Woman, which is what the rest of the book was called, is the story of a trans woman. Like, do you understand how incredible that is? The very first story in this book is the story of a trans woman. Do you know how hard it is to be out and trans in Nigeria? How unbelievably hard it is. And it's just seeing her tell a story from when she was younger to, you know, her university days, which is even incredible. She went to my school. She finished from my university. It is essential reading, and it's just brace yourself for a lot of problematic thinking and shit and toxic bullshit, but it still captures a core part of the Nigerian queer community that really does get that representation in books. Oh, and I forgot to mention it, She Called Me Woman also does fulfill the fuck abuse and fuck classism prompts, and some of the stories also do actually also fit the fuck the patriarchy prompt as well. So it's really cool. It's really cool. And then we have check plays, and what can I say, like, sometimes you just want a comic that is warm and cute and funny and heartwarming and adorable, and that is what check please is. It's got college shenanigans, it's got hockey. Yes, if you like sports stories, if you like sport romances, then definitely a choice for you. And it also has one of the most adorable, heartwarming characters ever, and the captain of his hockey team. And it's just I'm smiling thinking about it because it's just so cute. I have only read the first issue. I totally am behind, and I should catch up on the rest. I think I'm probably going to just get volume 1 and then just make my way from there, because it's sweet. The little I read of it, just I can't stop smiling. It's that cute. It's that good. And speaking of comics that make us smile and, you know, have us feeling all sorts of ways, has to be The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang, where our protagonist is a gender fluid prince who spends his nights dressed up as the fabulous and fashion forward Lady Crustella, who is practically the toast of the entire society, because, like I said, she is pretty fashion forward. And she's pretty fashion forward thanks to his friend Francis, who makes all his dresses, and like they come up together with the design and then he wears them, and basically he's a darling of the town. But the thing about it is that even though Francis wants to keep a friend's secret, a friend being the prince of course, even though she wants to keep his secret, it also impairs our own dreams, because our dream is to be a recognized and celebrated dressmaker. And the thing about it is that Crustella, or rather Prince Sebastian, you know, is getting all these accolades and stuff, and everybody's talking about his designs, but nobody knows that she's the one that is making it. So her dreams are not going forward, even though she's protecting his secret, and it's a question of how long can she keep protecting his secret and sacrificing her own dream in the process. And would Sebastian notice? And you know, it sounds brilliant. The imagery is fucking fantastic. I want to read this comic so bad. It's been on my list to read for so long, like over a year now. So it's definitely bumping up my TBR, because I need to get it and read it sometime soon. It just, the art is beautiful, the story is amazing. It fills me with all the warmth and all the love inside. Like I'm just happy thinking about reading it. And then we have Juliet Takes a Breath by Gabby Rivera. Now we meet Juliet Palante. She's Puerto Rican, she's a New Yorker, she's a lesbian. She just came out to her family and is worried that her mother will never accept her because of the reception she got when she came out. But now she's moving to Oregon, Portland, and hoping that while there she'll be able to find herself and understand all these facets and parts of who she is. And she hopes she will do so by interning with Alo Brisbane, who is our favorite author, who wrote our favorite book, and an authority on all things, you know, feminism, women's bodies, and all these gay terms that for so long have been flying over her head and she's never really understood. This entire book sounds like it's going to be a delight to read, and I particularly love the fact that, you know, in learning about feminism and, you know, all these women's bodies and what it means to be queer, Juliet also understands that intersectional feminism is what, you know, it's needed, and not white feminism that seeks to separate, you know, feminist issues from racial issues, from queer issues, and does not understand how intersectional our various identities are. Now, For those of you that don't know, Gabby Rivera is the author who is writing the America comics. Yes, that's America Chavez from the Young Avengers. Like, I love that comic, I really do. That is yet another one I'm going to recommend. Like, America is a queer woman of color. She's kick-ass, she's badass, can punch through like dimensions in space. She's just badass like that. And like I said, like, Gabby is the one that's writing that comic, and there's just a particular way she writes, a style. She tends to like write with a lot of slangs, and she also does this stream of consciousness type writing. So if it's something you're not used to, it might take a while to get used to it. If you're reading like Juliet Takes a Breath, but eventually you will enjoy it. And then there's Would You Rather, a memoir of growing up and coming out by Katie Eni. Now, a lot of the times when we are looking at coming out stories, we usually focus on, you know, young coming out stories, especially even in real life. Like when people are talking about, oh, how they've always known since when they were gay, they would be like, oh, I've always known since I was like 12 or 13. And so that's usually most of the coming out stories, young, which is also cool. And then of course the really older ones that like find out in their golden ages and all of that. But I did not really realize that the emotions and feelings and all the thoughts I had, you know, meant I was queer until I was in my late 20s. What did I think they all were? Like, they were seriously suppressed. I actually did not even give thoughts towards it. I remember in my 3rd year in uni, my best friend, who is still my best friend till date, you know, mentioned it in passing, and I immediately just like rejected it. Remember, Nigeria is pretty homophobic. So it didn't click in for me until in my late 20s. And then I remember discovering and being like, oh, wow, really? That was it? Oh my god. Like, it just, so as someone who had that realization in her 20s, finding out that Would You Rather, the memoir, also, you know, is a memoir of Katie finally realizing that she's gay at 28. I'm finding out how much I relate with her, because see, Katie discovers, or rather realizes, that she's gay at 28. And what that meant for her was that she technically became a baby gay, when at first glance you would expect that she would have all the experience, and she's just, you know, just now finding herself, trying to find where she fits in, trying to understand this world that everybody around her has experienced and moved on from, and she's just slowly dipping her toes in the waters. Like, and I love that because I found that so fucking relatable. So yeah, definitely another book I cannot wait to read. I cannot wait to read sometime soon, actually. So next on the list is Passage, which is a poetry collection. Now, if it's that you immediately hear that and be like, oh my god, no, Noria, I do not do poetry, consider this first. This is actually a collection of poems detailing Gwen Benaway's experience as a native bisexual transgender woman in Ontario, which, I'm not gonna lie, blows my mind. Gwen Benaway is of Anishinaabe and Métis descent and uses this anthology of poems to speak her mind on family violence, on the legacy of colonization, and our understanding and acceptance of both her gender identity and her sexuality, especially as it pertains to her two-spirit identity. It sounds brilliant, it sounds fantastic. I cannot wait to read it. Like, I'm slowly building up my poetry collection, so knowing that at some point in time Passage would make it to that list makes me very happy. And then there's a quick and easy guide to Theythem pronouns by Archie Bongiovanni and Tristan Jimerson. Now, I believe that the title is pretty self-explanatory as to what this comic is about. It basically explains what gender-neutral pronouns are, how they should be used, why you should not be a dick and respect people's pronouns, and also why pronouns matter. They also give suggestions with regards what you should do if you do make a mistake and accidentally misgender someone, and also give tips and tricks to people whose identity are outside the gender binary and how to keep themselves safe. And it's basically a starting point for everyone who wants to learn more. Even better, Archie identifies as genderqueer, which makes them invested in people getting gender neutral pronouns right, and I think that's fucking brilliant. Next up is I'm Afraid of Men by Vivek Shraya. Now, I took note of this book after Cindy of Read with Cindy mentioned it in a wrap-up for, like, you know, the book she read in May, and it just stuck with me. Vivek Shraya is a trans artist who takes us on an emotional and painful journey and examination of gender conformity and the role it plays on a person's psyche. Now, growing up, Vivek was met with quite a lot of hostility, aggression, and in some cases cruelty from a society that considered her too feminine as a boy and too masculine as a girl, which resulted in her learning to perform masculinity, and now as an adult she has to make compromises to steel herself against, you know, the verbal attacks and outbreaks she faces on a daily basis. Now, it is a small book, but it's a small book that has us, you know, looking deeper at the role we play in society and what the cumulative damage of misogyny, homophobia and transphobia looks like. And then we have Blend by Georgia Beers. Now, I've already stated earlier how much I'm a big fan of, you know, enemies to lovers, like the trope, but I don't think I've fully captured my love for slow burn stories, because I really love slow burn stories, and we get both, yes, both in this very adult, I know I stated very adult sapphic romance story. Now, in Blend, Lindsay's boss, who owns the wine bar Vineyard where she works as a second command, you know, goes on this long awaited holiday slash trip slash, you know, adventure, and leaves Lindsay in charge, you know, telling her that she could implement all these great ideas that she has. And Lindsay is very happy about it, because she's had such great ideas. She's been looking forward to the opportunity to implement them, and now she gets the chance to do so, and she's hoping that, you know, this will be a chance to also show her boss just how capable she is at her job. The only problem is that Lindsay is not the only one that, you know, our boss put in charge. Our boss also put our own daughter, that's the boss's daughter Portia, in charge as well. So they are both running the vineyard, and unfortunately Portia does not like Lindsay. She considers her very flighty. She keeps shooting down her ideas, and of course what that means is that, you know, sparks continue to fly. They cannot stand each other, and then they slowly, you know, develop mutual respect, and then friendship, and then, you know, the eventual romance picks up from there. It just sounds fucking brilliant. Plus, here is yet another story where, you know, two women who are attracted, you know, to each other actually act attracted to each other, and there's no fade to black moment. Now, certain tropes really butter my biscuits. Like, there's the enemies to lovers trope, there's the slow burn, you know, romance trope, and then there's the classic oldie but goodie fake dating slash relationship. Like, I gobble that shit up because that is my jam. I love when that happens. And boy, a lot of the times when we see that, especially in romantic comedies, it's always very straight. Like, the whole fake relationship thing is always straight. So imagine my surprise and delight when I heard of Just for Show by Jay, where we meet Claire. Claire is a successful couples therapist, you know, and she's so successful that right now she has a book deal, a self-help relationship book deal. She's engaged to be married to her fiance. She's obviously at like the top of her game, height of this world, and then her fiance breaks up their engagement, and as a result of this, her book deal is almost taken away from her, because, you know, there is no way, nobody wants to take relationship advice from you when you're very clearly sucking at your own relationship. So in order to save her book deal, she decides to hire a fake fiance. Enter Lana, an actress who auditions for the role. And the thing about it is that, to Claire, Lana is terrible. She's messy, she's loud, she's totally not the type of woman she would ever fall for, which of course makes it delightful, because you know that they're going to fall for each other. Like, it makes my romantic comedy heart very happy. Like, can you just imagine that? Can you just imagine that? That is just, I can't wait to read this book. It just sounds fantastic. Like, I'm smiling, I'm happy thinking about it. And once again, yet another adult romance where, you know, they actually are attracted to each other, and you can feel the steam and passion rising from the page. Next is The Music and Mirror by Lola Keeley. Now, this is more of a mentor romance set against the backdrop of ballet. Anna is the newest member of an elite ballet company, and her first class with her idol Victoria, who is also one of the, you know, those praised, esteemed ballet figures in the industry. Her first class with Victoria is terrible, horrible first impression, but Anna proves herself, and Victoria sees the star quality in her, and, you know, decides to give her another chance. And so Anna pours everything she is, everything she hopes, everything that she can be into proving that Victoria's trust in her is not misplaced as she, you know, prepares for the opening night. And as you know, as she gets ready, as she prepares, as Victoria mentors her, they discover that they are connected by more than just ballet. Like, it sounds amazing, and it's just giving me Black Swan vibes, which was a movie I really loved, and I can't wait to read it. I'm keeping my fingers crossed though that, you know, it's because the thing about, you know, mentors and tutors and teachers in books, especially if I hope the character is not underage, because if the character is underage, I will have a problem with that. But I didn't see anybody make mention of it, so I'm hoping that, you know, they are both legal consenting adults, and it's not as if Victoria has a complete, like, you know, has total control over Anna's career, in which case I would be kind of icky about that. So just now that I've mentioned it, I'm wondering if it's a good idea for this book to be on this list. When I read it, I'll probably do an update on it. I want to see how that relationship is portrayed, you know, and I don't want there to be any form of power imbalance, you know, that would seem like Anna is being pressured, you know, to date / fall in love with Victoria. I hope not. Next is I Wish You All the Best by Mason Diva. Now, in this Own Voices novel, Ben comes out as non-binary parent and is kicked out as a result of that, and so has to move in with elder sister Anna and her husband Thomas, and has to start a new school, and happens to be noticed by Nathan, who is funny and smart and charismatic, and decides to take them under his wing, you know, show them around. And as he does so, the friendship between him and Ben grows stronger, and then new feelings and emotions creep up, you know, as a result of that. Like, it sounds both heartbreaking and also heartwarming, and I love that juxtaposition. I want to read this. I want to read it sometime soon. And while I'm at it, shout out to Boston of Boston Read Books. She held a giveaway on Instagram because she had an extra copy of, you know, I Wish You All the Best that she wanted to give out, and I won the giveaway, and it should be on its way to me soon. I cannot wait to read it. It's high on my list, and I'm just, oh my god, I can't wait to read it. Once again, really thank you so much, Boston. I really appreciate it. And then we have yet another book that is high on my list, and that is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Now, if you thought I was not going to mention this book, have you met me? Like, I live for romantic comedies, and this book sounds right up my alley. I mean, a story about how the son of the President of the United States falls in love with the Prince of Wales, all because they both had to pretend to be friends in order to, you know, quieten the rumors and, you know, fix the bad press that was going to their individual families. And then from fake friends they became actual friends, and then from friends they became lovers. Like, how can I not want to read this book? It sounds positively delightful. And then there's Stone Butch Blues by Leslie Fenberg, which is an exploration of gender transformation and told through the eyes of Jess Goldberg, a Butch transgender queer lesbian who came out during the pre-Stonewall drag bars era in a blue-collar town. Now, from just the description alone, I know that this subject matter is not going to be light, it's not going to be fluffy, it is going to be brutal, it's going to be heartbreaking, and it's also going to be honest about an era that was difficult and unkind to anyone who remotely looked or acted different. It looks like it's going to be a hard read, so it's high on my TBR, but I'm going to have to wait for the right moment to buy it and eventually read it. But it's definitely going to be a book to read. Now, I know I said 20, but I have to just make a quick mention of Amateur, a true story about what makes a man by Thomas Page McBee, who examines the weight of male violence, the pervasiveness of gender stereotypes, and the limitations of conventional masculinity, all as a trans man training to fight a charity boxing match in Madison Square Garden in New York. And I think it speaks for itself. It's definitely a book that should be on this list, and I just had to put it in there. My apologies. And yeah, so those are the 20 plus 1. Queer as Fuck books I'm recommending. This is the one. I know that there are so many books, like I kid you not, I had to narrow my list because I had so many books. So I'm definitely looking forward to your top books, like what you want to recommend. Let me know down in the comments below. If you've read any of those books, you know, and you have opinions about them, let me know down in the comments below. If you like this video, please do not forget to give it a big thumbs up. Check out my other videos, subscribe if you want to. I make new videos every Sundays, Wednesdays and Fridays, and I'll see you soon. Until then, stay passionate, love books, love yourself. Bye.
It's like I'm powerful.